Guys, welcome back to Jenny from the Chopping Block. And today I'm so excited to highlight and introduce you to my new friend, Raf Garay. And I have him on today to highlight all that makes him amazing and all that he's up to in this world. So Raf's a Tony Robbins guy. He started with Tony Robbins, and we found each other through one of the networks, Instagram actually. And I really believe in like attracting like, and I just love what you've been up to, and you're a business coach, so I find that really intriguing, especially for me, who wants to maybe get into my own business. And talking to Raf, I realized that he completed KBB, and I'm about to jump into that. So I wanted to ask you like how that's impacted your life, and there's so much to talk about. So let's start with your coaching. And you mentioned that you went from corporate to kind of fulfilling your dreams into your passion. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be on your show here. My background, I actually started my career, interestingly enough, as a massage therapist years ago. And I made a transition into corporate recruiting and decided that I just wanted to be a New York City businessman as a massage therapist. That skill really doesn't translate into really anything else. So I really said to myself, I'm going to go on a bunch of interviews. Whoever hires me, whatever I end up being, I'm going to be the best one of that.
Woo!
And I got a job as a recruiter at this, finally 100 interviews later, I got a job at this really small recruiting firm, and I just went 100 miles an hour. And one of the clients that I picked up ended up actually being one of the largest media and ad agencies in the world. They loved my work, and they ended up hiring me. So from there, I just ended up in a really, really short period of time. I got promoted up through the ranks and built a really amazing career out of it. But motivational speaking, coaching, that's always been my passion. It's always been something that really my heart, if I look at where my heart was, it was always in speaking. It was always towards inspiring other people. And I had all this knowledge. I can probably start like years ago, before I was the massage therapist. What made me so driven throughout like a decade of my life was the fact that I had a complete like train wreck of young teens and early 20s where I was actually incarcerated. And I took a really deep dive into personal development. It's funny that we mentioned the KBB group because I kind of hit a rock bottom in my life, and I read Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. And I credit that book to being the catalyst that really completely transformed my life. And from hitting rock bottom to building a great career in massage therapy, then going to corporate, building a great career there, I always wanted to take my story and use it to inspire other people. And so one day I just put a mic into my laptop and I started talking. It started as a podcast. And then from there, I entered the world of KBB. And I had always wanted to take my passion and turn it into a business. I just didn't know how. And going through that program, because I had tried for years, it started actually making sense to me of how I take what's in my mind, this stuff that I know, how do I piece it together? How do I make it a business? And how can I do this as my career? How do I take my passion and just actually make a living out of it? And I think that's the hardest part, because so many of us have this thing that we love, this thing that we want to do, this passion that we want to pursue. But the reality of it is, if you don't learn how to turn it into a business, it's always going to be something that you just do on the side, and you'll never be able to have it in your life 100% of the time. And to me, it's like the biggest shame in life where you don't get to really live your life pursuing your passion. So it's been, it's been years for me now, but that program was very transformational. And here I am now, a full-time speaker and business coach.
It's remarkable, and I'm just so grateful to have met you. And it's like I'm like where you're saying you were before. So it's amazing to see that transformation and that you're doing it. It's super inspiring. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that with me. So I wanted to talk about your business coaching and how that you said that you happen. I asked if you were a physical trainer because you seem to, be involved with a lot of people in that space. And is that true?
Yeah. I'm very big into fitness personally. I'm not a fitness trainer though. I've been a competitive martial artist for years. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Renzo Gracie. And so competition in sports athletics, that's always been kind of a focal point of my life. In my coaching, everything I focus on centers around 3 core pillars: mind, body, business. Mm-hmm. And when I kind of hit a second rock bottom in my life, I redefined what my definition of success was. And I knew that I needed to kind of turn around and start chasing a different success. And by focusing on mindset, really building focus, getting rid of the limiting beliefs. The body, I was running a corporate job, a big corporate job, and then coming home at night and trying to do my side hustle. So you need sustainable energy. You don't necessarily need to be a competitive athlete, but you have to have, if you're an entrepreneur, you absolutely need sustainable energy. Tony Robbins talks about it all the time. Like, what good is being rich and famous if your health is falling to crap? So I'm very big on fueling the engine and taking care of the vessel that's bringing you forward. And then the third pillar really is business. And for me, business is anything that you want it to be, and it should be the thing that you're passionate about. You should master that. And the way to master it is simply to look at somebody who has been there before. So my coaching actually started around mindset. I studied NLP for years because of Tony and reading his books. So I took a really deep dive into that. And it wasn't until after KBB that I actually hired mentors to further guide me along my path and to really take my marketing into the next level. Tony will say it, business is essentially 2 things. It is your product, your service. And then the other part of it is like your marketing, your sales. And if you mess up the second part of it, you never have a business. So I really needed to hone in on focusing on the marketing part and the sales part. So I had an opportunity really to work with some of the most amazing coaches that were experts in storytelling, marketing, building funnels, being able to develop content marketing strategies to build your business. And so I work with a lot of fitness professionals, helping them build their business. But really, my focus shifted just because of the mentors that I worked with. I learned so much. And I was able to take my little business on the side, and I actually made it a 6-figure side hustle, just working nights and weekends. And so I wanted to be able to take that knowledge and help someone else that is in that same position in their life. And they want to get out of their corporate job, or they just have this passion that they want to pursue. My goal in life is to help them and give them the tools that I've learned to build my business so they can do the same. So I work with, again, a lot of fitness professionals, but really as a business coach, my goal is to help anyone that is utilizing social media to try to build their business. The strategies and tactics are really all the same in building a marketing strategy. So that's really what my focus is on. It focuses around, number one, mindset. If you have limiting beliefs, I can give you all the tools to build your business. But if you have a lead weight, so to speak, that's holding you back, you're never going to reach your full potential. So that's always part of what I do. And then it's content creation, messaging, audience targeting, being able to figure out who it is you want to talk to, how do you talk to them, and how do you start bringing clients in the door through the content that you're putting out into the marketplace.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have a few questions though. So first, can we highlight the fact that you're a black belt?
Sure.
Tell me your biggest takeaway from that journey. That's a huge accomplishment. That's amazing. How did that come into your life, that part of you?
Honestly, martial arts is everything to me. When there's times in the past in my life where I felt myself slipping, and whenever I was slipping is when I wasn't training. What martial arts has taught me, and jiu-jitsu specifically, it's more about life. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you never to give up. I feel that it makes you humble, because no matter how good you are, there's always somebody that's going to walk out onto the mat and rip you in half. And it also teaches you that is never failure. That's called a fall. I don't believe in failure. I really have taken that word out of my dictionary. I think you only fail when you quit. And if you fall, those little stumbles that you take in life, just like I've taken them on the mat, I've learned that they're really just designed, number one, to make you stronger and to learn. So it's made me just incredibly humble and hungry, because I'm always going for the next thing in my life and on the mat. And what you realize in, I feel, jiu-jitsu and in life, is when somebody's on top of you and you're going through a tournament and you're exhausted and the weight is just crushing on you and you just feel like you can't breathe and there's nothing left. That's when you have to reach deep down inside yourself and find that fire and find whatever's left in there and find your why. Why are you out there? Why are you going through this? How much training did you put yourself through to get to that point? And that's when you have to take all of that and find the last bit of strength left to push through. And so I correlate that to life is always going up and down. It's when life flatlines, that's when you know you're in trouble. Going through the ups and downs, that's just part of it. And you can't, number one, you can't attach your happiness to the ups or the downs, because then you'll spend your life on this roller coaster of emotions. You have to find happiness and peace in the moment. And you have to realize that when life is crushing on you, that's when you have to push your hardest. And if you push your hardest, no matter what, you never lose. You're always going to come out on top.
Oh, that's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And I had another question from what you were talking about. So you're saying, well, I have one quick question. So NLP, sure. Do you think that's like really beneficial to coaching or just communication?
For me, it was everything.
I've heard mixed things about it.
So it worked for me. I utilized it on myself. So what I tell people is, on your journey, you're going to pick up a lot of tools. You find what works for you and you throw out what doesn't. And what worked for me may not work for you. What I can tell you is that as a young adult, I was extremely angry and violent. I was incarcerated for, believe it or not, violent assault charges and drug trafficking. So really the complete opposite of what you see in front of you. And my turning point in my life was kind of where my mother came and talked to me and said, listen, I love you. I'm always going to love you. But I can't come here and see you, and you need to change. A little behind that, the fact that my biological father, he passed away 2 weeks before I was born, and in an accident. And so my mom, like, I grew up and she was my superwoman. She was my superhero. And the fact that I did that to her didn't sit right with me. And I was so angry my whole life, because I grew up, and it started with like having a stepdad who was an amazing guy. But as a young kid, he was just somebody who was in the house that wasn't my dad, that was telling me what to do. And it led me to be really, really angry. And so that moment when my mother came, I became very sad, and I wanted to turn off the anger, but I couldn't. I didn't know how. So I became just this angry and depressed and sad person that completely was sitting in a cell that had just lost everything and hit rock bottom. And NLP is what allowed me to go back and start reinventing myself and rewriting my story. What I can tell you is that a lot of people will say time heals. I never prescribe that and I never buy into it. If you're in a relationship with someone, for instance, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends horribly and something happens that cuts a wound in you,
Mm-hmm.
if you think time is going to heal that, you're wrong, because it's going to manifest as something else in a future relationship, whether you're scared to get close or you get angry or you don't trust. So there's always something that's going to be there. So what happens in the basis of NLP is we have an experience. That experience becomes interpreted. From that interpretation, we start to have feelings, and those feelings they become behavior. So if you don't go back and reinvent the way that you are viewing your stories, you're always going to have that thing there. So for me, it was literally um, years of me going back and looking very objectively at specific times in my life, things that made me angry, things that made me sad, and finding ways to look at those events differently. Instead of saying, man, this really made me angry, or playing the victim mentality, I got screwed over, looking at it and saying to myself, how can I learn from this? What did it teach me? How can I grow? How does this make me a better person? And how can I use it to push me forward? So is through a process, and it's a hard process. Going inside is always one of the toughest battles you'll fight on your journey to the top. And it was just years of doing that that finally allowed me to break free, to, number one, own my story, own my past, even own the mess ups that I've made, and just have this unbreakable mentality that nothing will shatter me no matter what. And everything in my life that I've gone through has brought me to this moment. This moment right now in my life is amazing. So it, for me, it was a game changer for sure.
That's amazing. I feel like the light hit your face, like when you said, I was like, damn. I'm like, sorry, that's really, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so
Yeah.
inspiring. And I felt your words, and I feel that I can relate to you as well. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. So woo! So the next thing I want to talk about is your podcast. So it's called The Art of Inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to hear about why you chose that title and how that's been for you. You've had this podcast for 3 years now?
Yeah. It started very, very humbly with a very cheap microphone that I purchased on Amazon. I plugged it into my laptop and I just started talking. I always wanted to be able to inspire people, but I thought that I needed to accomplish just something tremendous in my life, like something that made the papers and the news, and so everyone knew about me, and then I can start motivational speaking. And it was actually my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, that I was telling her about this, and she said, you just need to just start. You just need to go. And I started, the very first podcast was me just introducing myself, giving my story of what I've overcome. And that in itself was really nerve-wracking, because up until that point, I never liked to talk about my story. I didn't like to talk about my past. I didn't like to talk about being incarcerated. It was something that was in the past, and I tried to leave there, and I wanted to just walk forward with my life.
Mm-hmm.
The more that I talked about it, the more I owned it, and the more it empowered me. And the more I put it out to audiences, I realized that while there's so many people out there that listen that haven't necessarily been incarcerated, everyone has gone through something, and it inspired people to hear someone that hit rock bottom and bounced back. And I just took that momentum and I ran with it. And again, it's always about mind, body, business. For years, it was just a solo cast of me coming on for anywhere from 5 to 15, 20 minutes and giving tips around things that helped me for mindset, for fitness, for business. And just as of recently, in the past few months, Every other podcast is me bringing on a very inspirational guest, someone who is an expert in one of those three areas, either mindset, business, or fitness. And really what's interesting is when I took a deep dive into personal development, I started reading probably 2 books a month and taking notes. If I'm kind of a nerd with notes, even still in my house, there's notebooks splashed everywhere. And what I wanted to do was be able to reverse engineer success. So I studied all the successful people that I can find information on. The big people that you hear about, like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Ed Milet, Tim Ferriss. I just started reading about them. What do they do in the morning? Like, what is their morning routine? How do they face challenges? How do they do this? How do they do that? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to find a common thread that weave between all of them so I can incorporate that into my life. Mm-hmm. And I do the same thing with the guests that I bring on because I ask them all the same questions. Really what their tips are on like mindset. You could be a business coach, but I want to know, as you were encountering challenges, what's the shift that you made in your mindset? What are you telling yourself? What's the self-talk? How did you get over that? Is fitness, like you're a business coach, okay, but is fitness like, are you a healthy person? Do you take your health and wellness and nutrition seriously? And what I want to be able to do is I want to do for people what I did for myself, is show them the common thread that weaves between highly successful and high performing people. So that's really the goal of the podcast, is really to educate and inspire.
I love that, because I think of like my purpose of this show is to show resilience and inspire, but I love that you put that education in there. I think that's huge. I love that. I wanted to ask you, I forgot to ask you when we were talking before, do you think it's like a process? Like, is it like mind first, then body? Am I here? Okay. My computer. I got a laptop, but I can't figure out how to do the show from that.
So
did you get my question?
Yeah. So like, what is there a process first? What works first? Like mind, body, your mindset. And so your psychology and your physiology, again, another thing that Tony Robbins will talk about all the time, they're directly correlated to each other. So I feel that this is something that you work on in unison. And I feel that those two, I wouldn't say one comes before the other. I think they come in tandem. But I do feel that they should come. You should begin working on your mind and body before you dip your toes in business. Because if not, if you don't go in with the proper mindset and you don't go in there with the energy to just keep going and run through obstacles, then you're going to have a really hard time and you're going to struggle. For me, I have a very rigorous morning routine. It incorporates all of it. I wake up, I open my eyes in the morning at 4:30. I start listing things that I'm grateful for. And then I get out of bed and right away I do a breathing exercise. Breathing exercise goes to meditation. As soon as I'm done with my meditation, I'm out the door for a 3.5 mile run. Then I hit the weights. Then I come back and I journal. And then my final thing that I do is I cook breakfast for my wife. And so if you look at what I do, and it follows mind, body, business. So I incorporate stillness for my mind, focus, gratitude, because gratitude and negativity cannot occupy the same space. That's why I wake up. And so if you followed me like on Instagram, I do this like morning minute of like inspiration where I'm on my story and I'm like so pumped up and I'm yelling. But the morning routine is designed for me to be able to, it's like a tool. So I can show up and I can kick ass all day long. And so I start with all of those things, the movement, the meditation, the stillness, the focus, the gratitude. Finally, the cooking breakfast for my wife is like an act of service. So I've always feel that I'm a servant. I'm here to serve other people, whether it's through my inspiration, whether it's through coaching them to get to the next part of their journey. But yeah, the mindset and your psychology and your physiology, they're always going to affect each other. Your mindset is never going to be as strong as it can be if your body is lagging. And on the other end of it, as an athlete, I really, really push myself. And when you got nothing left in the tank, it's your mind that will take you through that. So both of them together you build like an unstoppable and unbreakable mind, an unstoppable and unbreakable body, and you will have a really wide open door for you to start taking your business to the next level.
Hashtag goals. Love it. And I am incorporating that stuff, but I'm going to step it up a little more.
Let's step it up.
Woo! Woo! So I'm naturally going to segue into food because you're talking about breakfast and making it for your wife. So I want to know your favorite food and or recipe, maybe a breakfast recipe that you could share with us.
Okay, so I don't eat breakfast. I do intermittent fasting. I just have coffee in the morning.
Can I I eat inspirational quotes for breakfast. Just kidding. You have coffee? Woo! Coffee! Everybody's like, don't drink coffee. I'm like,
I have very strong black coffee in the morning.
awesome.
But my favorite, so I'm going to give you both. I'm feeling a little generous here. I'm going to give you my
super
favorite
generous.
food.
Thank you so much, by the way.
Very in a giving mood today. So since we're talking about food, one of my favorite subjects, I eat during the week very, very healthy. There is like no processed food. There's no sugar. There's no garbage. No nothing. Just really clean. But when the weekend comes, my absolute favorite food, probably in the whole wide world, is a cheeseburger. And not a little tiny, like I'm a skinny burger. Like so I need funny. A big, fat, juicy, and more. It's got to be really, really good quality beef, more on the rare side. I love it juicy. A good cheese on there.
What kind of cheese?
I go, when I make them at home, I go with Swiss. If I go out, it depends on, what's going on with the burger, maybe a cheddar. And American cheese, by the way, is just for is meltability. Is that a word? It melts very well. So
it does. I love cheddar, but sometimes it just stays like,
Yeah. Like a thick piece of sharp cheddar. I mean, that thing might just stay there. American, that's going down. So that's what I eat, and it's got to be accompanied by a beer.
What kind of beer?
So, I mean, it depends on what the weather is looking like. I mean, if this is the winter time, this is like a lager or a pilsner. In the summertime, this can be like a light wheat beer. Something that goes with the sun. And it also depends. Do I have bacon on this burger? I don't know. I might, and that might change the
tomato. Tomato is always a tricky one with people. People either love or hate tomatoes.
It's I do like a tomato. I do, but it's gotta be. So I live in Jersey, okay, and we have the best tomatoes. So if you've ever had a fresh Jersey tomato, I don't know for the people out, if there's anyone out there in Jersey, that is like a home run.
I have a lot of friends in Jersey. I never had a fresh tomato Jersey. A Jersey tomato.
We are we're the Garden State, and we're known for our tomatoes. So that's probably one of the only things that I can really highlight about New Jersey is our tomatoes. That's the top. So burger, that's the number one food to eat. And by the way, I make a really good burger. I was in a competition years ago, and I was like 5th out of like 130 something people for making a burger. Just throwing that out there.
I need to see how that's done somehow.
It was super. My recipe, actually, then I got beat by someone who just made like a double cheddar burger, and I was like, how does that win? But I've since simplified my recipe, and I think I make a really good burger. My favorite food to make, though, believe it or not, I'm of Puerto Rican descent. My stepfather is Italian, and I grew up with my grandfather making like the traditional Sunday family dinner, making the sauce. So nothing comes out of a jar in my house. I got to have, fresh tomatoes. I stew them, I cook them for hours, and I love to make fresh pasta by hand. Nothing out of the store. Make my own dough, roll it out. So that's probably, and any type of pasta really. I change up my sauces depending on what's going on. But that's probably some of my favorite dishes to make is pasta.
How do you sweeten your tomato sauce? Do you put sugar or do you put like carrots and stuff?
Carrots.
Yeah, cool. So you know it's done when the carrot's soft.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I learned that from somebody from Italy. I make good sauce too.
Okay. Well, we have to have a cook-off then.
Whoa! So I also want to, I mean, you're amazing. You have superpowers, but if you could pick one like superpower, what would that be?
Oof. Superpower, I think, is for me, vision. For me, it's that's been the one thing. And when I mean vision, I mean being able to focus on one thing. And for me, it's always been my goal, because
yeah, seriously,
when you go through life, there's always things that tell you like, this isn't realistic. It's not going to happen. And your ability to just cut all that garbage out and just focus with laser precision on the thing that you want most in your life, and not allow those little voices that you can't do it, or this isn't realistic, or no, you like your ability just to be able just to focus and move towards that thing and never stop, no matter what knocks you down. Like, I have a lot of resilience, I have a lot of heart, but no matter what, I wake up in the morning and my vision is burned in my brain, and I don't let anything get in the way of that. And so if you're able to have that, if you're able to take your dream, if you're able to visualize it, you go to sleep with it, you wake up with it, you go after it, you chase it with every single thing in you, that's going to become your reality. So for me, it's vision before everything.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that. Super inspiring. And I just want to end with, so how have you been during this time of COVID? It seems that you're on top of things and you seem positive and happy and helping others.
Yeah.
Has there been any challenges, or maybe something you could share with the audience that might help them?
It's actually been a tremendous time for me. It's as a business coach, and especially somebody, in my business, I recently was able to quit a very high level corporate career and just coach full time. And a lot of it is due to the fact that people were running towards the internet because they couldn't leave their house. And you realize if you weren't on a camera, you weren't on social media, you weren't putting yourself out there, you were essentially nowhere. So for me, I think about this was really a blessing. And even if you were someone out there who lost your job or lost your business, the most successful people always bottom out at some point. But successful people have a mindset. I think being an entrepreneur is like, it's a mindset first, and then it's a skill set. And the mindset is always, I need to be able to create something from nothing. And when you hit the bottom, you'll notice that successful people, you'll hear it all the time, they lose a business, they go bankrupt, and a year later, they're back on top again. So during COVID, whether you lost your job or you lost your business, you have to realize that one door closed, but another one was wide open. And so many people get stuck looking at that door that's closed that they let the party pass them by. And there's other people out there that saw the opportunity, and the opportunity is always be a problem solver. So you look at COVID, you look at quarantine, what problems are people facing? What skills do I have that can help people solve those problems? And you can build any business around that. Any service or product that solves a problem is going to be able to make you successful. So I tell people, when things go wrong, look for problems and then find solutions and offer those to people. Come from the heart, be of service, and you're going to help people get to where they want to go. It's going to be fulfilling, and you're going to be able to get to the next step in your life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing and coming on the show. And I'm so grateful to know you better now.
Yeah,
and
great.
You're amazing. So I want to thank you. And guys, I got a shirt. I'm wearing this shirt. This is Eric Thomas's shirt. And I ordered one for my dad, but I also ordered one for a lucky lady that I want to send you a book and a piece of jewelry and this shirt. So I would love you to interact on the comments and get more involved. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to pick somebody this week to send that out to. I'm also going to send one of my Jenny from the Chopping Block magnets.
Woo.
So that's all we have for today, folks. Raf, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to rewatch this because I feel like I tried to really embody everything you said, but I'm grateful for you.
Thank you so much. This was great. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope I was able to give a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of knowledge that was useful. And as always, whenever I talk to anyone, an audience, I just want to be able to spark a fire in, even if it's just one person. That's what my journey is all about. So I hope you take this and realize that no matter where you are in your life, and sometimes I always felt that if I was on my back or I was up against the wall, it was often the best place for me, because when your back's up against the wall, there's only one way to go, and that's forward.
That's so true.
You know, no matter where you are right now, there is such a tremendous opportunity. So I hope everyone out there has a fire. I hope you go out there, own the day, own the week, and I will catch all you guys at the top.
Absolutely. And I'm going to share more info on how you guys could get in touch with him, or if you have any questions, if you want to follow his podcast and Instagram, it's super valuable stuff. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Raf, be good. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Ciao.